Oscilloscope music. Drawing with sound. The stereo image of this music literally draws pictures. Music videos are created by the waveforms of the music itself. If you're interested in making oscilloscope music, even if you have no experience with this kind of stuff, this is the video for you. I'm going to talk about what software you need and then give a quick demonstration of making oscilloscope music. If you're watching this, you probably know what oscilloscope music is and have some idea of how it works. If not, I made a 20-minute deep dive video that will make this all way more intuitive. I'll put the link in the description. Alright, let's get started. What skills do you need going into this? You might think you need a strong math and programming background, but that's only true if you want to make your own instruments and effects. So what do you actually need? You see, making oscilloscope music is like making electronic music, except instead of recording your instruments or using synthesizers like Serum, you use specially designed oscilloscope synthesizers as your instruments. You don't need to be an advanced producer though. All you really need to be able to do to start is arrange notes and automate parameters. Later during my demo, you'll see what I mean. With that being said, the first piece of software you will need is a digital audio workstation, or DAW for short. So, what's a good free DAW to get started with? I don't have much experience with free DAWs, but firstly, I've heard great things about the free trial of Reaper, and secondly, I'll point you to this video about free DAWs from someone who seems to know what he's talking about. Okay, now you have a DAW. Great. Let's move on to the next thing you need, a specialized oscilloscope synthesizer. My number one recommendation for this is osci-render by James H. Ball, because it's accessible, beginner-friendly, and very powerful. Osci-render can generate waveforms from SVG files, 3D object files, Lua live coding to make your own shapes, image files, Blender integration, and more. It includes a VST plugin so you can actually use osci-render as an instrument in your DAW. I'll put the osci-render website link in the description. There's a free version with everything I just mentioned. There's also a premium version with more features like built-in video recording, more effects, some of which I contributed, video file support, commercial use license, and more. So, give osci-render a shot, make some cool things, and when you're ready to upgrade to premium, I have good news. You can get 10% off osci-render premium by using coupon code TONY10 at checkout. Not only does that save you some cash, but it also supports this channel. The other oscilloscope synthesizer software to be aware of is OsciStudio by Hansi 3D. Hansi is the partner of Jeremy Fenderson, and you might know the two as the pioneers of oscilloscope music. Disclaimer, I've never used OsciStudio myself, but from what I understand, the nice features of OsciStudio are also in osci-render these days. I would guess that the main incentive for OsciStudio is its C++ live coding feature, which should have great CPU performance. So, if you're an advanced user computing serious waves and your CPU is having none of it, consider adding OsciStudio to your toolbox. I'll put the website link in the description. The final major option for oscilloscope synthesis is to do it yourself, for example in Pure Data or Max for Live. I made 2 oscilloscope songs entirely using Max for Live, and here's what I have to say about going the DIY route. Your time is valuable. Don't do this to yourself. So now you have your oscilloscope synthesizer. The final component you need is a software oscilloscope, so you can actually look at your creations. I mean, you could get a real hardware oscilloscope, but that's out of the scope of this video. Let's start with the free options. For live previewing while you're working in your DAW, I would just use osci-render. You can put an instance of osci-render on the master bus and click the microphone icon so it's using incoming audio instead of generating its own audio. For viewing and recording your final music export, my favorite free option is Oscilloscope by Hansi 3D. I'll put the link in the description. It's customizable, supports high sample rates, and has built-in video recording. This is the software Synesthesia was recorded in. Now, when you start taking this hobby more seriously and want the good stuff, the best software oscilloscope on the market by far is sosci by James H. Ball. Sosci is a super realistic simulation of real analog oscilloscopes. It looks absolutely incredible, is super customizable, includes a VST installation for use in a DAW, supports high sample rates, and has built-in video recording so you don't have to deal with the limitations of screen recording. This is the software Anesthesia was recorded in. sosci's beautiful visualizer and video recording feature are already built into osci-render Premium, so it's not necessary to purchase sosci if you already purchased osci-render. This might change in the future, so check the pinned comment for any updates. Anyway, if you want to purchase sosci, you can once again get 10% off by using coupon code TONY10 at checkout. Frequently asked question: what's the difference between osci-render and sosci? OsciRender creates audio signals that look interesting on an oscilloscope. Get osci-render if you want to generate sounds that draw shapes. Sosci is for viewing audio signals that have already been created. Get sosci if you have already generated sounds that draw shapes and you want to look at the shapes. Once again, for both osci-render and sosci, you know the drill. Tony 10. And no, that is not to imply there are 9 other Tonys. And finally, let's tie that all together with a demonstration of making oscilloscope music. This is just meant to be a basic overview of what oscilloscope music production might look like. Let's get started. Per tip, in oscilloscope music, higher sample rates are always better. The first thing we need is obviously a sick drum loop. Nice. By the way, I want to point out that I'm intentionally using short drum samples so the drums won't interfere with the visuals much when we add the instrument. Now let's open up osci-render on a MIDI track, enable MIDI so we can control it with musical notes, and arrange the main melody. Instead of using the default square, let's use this SVG I found on the internet. Per tip, always check the license of assets you find on the internet. Now for the most important step. Oscilloscope music isn't just for listening to, it has to be interesting to look at too. So let's add a few effects and animate them to the timing of the music. Let's make this full screen. As you can see, there are a ton of interesting effects to choose from. I'm going to start with swirl. I'm thinking basically while the first note plays, it's going to start normal and become more swirled. This is where automation with the DAW comes in. So on the timeline in Ableton Live, I'm going to actually add basically keyframe animation to this swirl parameter. So here I'm going to have it start at 0, go up a little bit, and then go back to 0 at the end of the first note. Maybe that's a bit much, so I'll tone it down a bit. For the next little rapid succession of notes, I'm going to add the God Ray effect, turn the position down a bit, and basically when the note starts, it's going to be enabled, and as the note continues, it's going to fade out, and it's going to be very rapid, so maybe it'll look interesting. Okay, now let's watch everything we have so far. For this long note, gonna add the bounce effect, like the old DVD screen style. Gonna start with it disabled and then over the course of the note, enable it more. Now, once again, gonna watch everything we have so far. Now I'll add just one more effect for the last note. Gonna go with the polygon bit crush. For some reason, I get the sense that whoever contributed this effect to osci-render is incredibly handsome. Anyway, it looks pretty good with the default settings. I'm cool with that, and maybe just kind of fade it in throughout the course of the note. Now let's watch and listen to our new masterpiece. So that's what making oscilloscope music looks like. Obviously, it can get way more involved, but as you just saw, it's not fundamentally difficult. One last thing, as you get more comfortable, I highly recommend dipping your toes in making your own instruments and effects with your synthesizer's live coding feature. I promise it's not so difficult to learn, and it immensely raises the ceiling of what you can achieve. But Anthony, I'm not a programmer, I'm not a math person. Maybe not yet. I'll see you on Desmos, soldier. Now you should be fully equipped to get started on your oscilloscope music journey. For more learning, I highly recommend the tutorials on James H. Ball's YouTube channel, as well as joining the osci-render Discord. I'll put the links in the description. Don't forget to share your creations with the community. Happy synthesizing, and I'll catch you next time.